lawyers and legal service providers from large law firms. And I can tell you it's been a real honor, including working with a number of the people that are going to be presenting today. So with that, I want to kind of pass this over to Andrew Valentine, who will introduce himself. Actually, before we do that, maybe we could just, if we could just get the presenters from this session to just briefly introduce themselves. I'm Bruce. I think we have Andrew. Andrew, just briefly introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrew Valentine. I'm at DLA Piper. I've been a partner there for, well, actually, I've been an attorney at that firm for my entire life. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in the session. It wasn't a large law firm when I started, but part of what's been going on in the United States is that lots of law firms get together. And so there are many more large law firms now in the United States. I'm from the Palo Alto office in the state of California in the United States, but I am actually in Lao today and presenting, and it's good to see people that I've met with so far here, and I look forward to participating in this session.
Great, and I think we have Aaron. Can you briefly introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Aaron. I'm also from DLA Piper. I'm the Pro Bono Associate Asia of DLA Piper, based in Hong Kong. So DLA Piper has 7 offices in Asia, and all of our offices in Asia and the world do pro bono work. So looking forward to share more with you guys on what DLA Piper has been doing on pro bono.
Wonderful. And I think we've got Jonathan Ollier with the White & Case team in Singapore. I think he's with the group.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Very nice to be part of this this session. I'm really happy to see Bruce and also Andrew, Aaron, and Rob that we met last year and the years before. So it's really great to see that momentum going. So as important as I am, I'm here with my associates on the Pro Bono Committee of White & Case in Singapore, Yash, Philip, and Jinyu, and we'll all kind of participate and work together as a group, as this is really for us. It's Pro Bono is really that kind of human story. They're doing that all together. So I really look forward to this.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Jonathan, and the whole White & Case team in Singapore. And it's been really an honor working alongside and collaborating with you in so many ways. And I think we also have Takeshi Nemoto. Takeshi from Japan, from Nishimura and Asahi. Can you introduce yourself briefly?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Can.
Yes. My name is Takeshi Nemoto. I'm a partner of Nishimura and Asahi. My expertise is M&A, and I also a member of Pro Bono Committee of our firm. I am engaged with Pro Bono activities. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you all. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. So with that, everyone, I'm now going to pass this over to Andrew Valentine, who's gonna maybe ask you all a few questions and kind of lead us into this. Andrew, is it good? You ready? Can I pass this over to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you, Bruce.
Andrew.
All right, good. Well, thanks again, everyone, for being on. So I think the thing I'd like to start with is to kind of gauge where people are from, and when they hear a term like large law firm, what does that mean to them? So what I'd like to ask people to do, I think for starters, is to probably in the chat, or you could raise your hand and I'll call on you, but maybe in the chat, for the people online, if you could put the country that you're from and then tell us what is a large law firm in your country. Is it 10 lawyers? Is it 100 lawyers? Is it 1,000 lawyers? Just so we can see from different countries, what does large law firm mean to you? So let's take 1 minute and just have everyone to do it. If they can type into the chat what a large law firm is in their country. And remember to put your country in the chat too.
And maybe, Andrew, maybe I can change that slightly. So for instance, because I'm a partner in a law firm in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And in Chiang Mai, a large law firm would be different than a large law firm in Bangkok, Thailand. So maybe we can either say country or the city that you're, or the
Okay,
part of the
yeah.
country that you're in, either the country or maybe the part of the country that you're in, because sometimes it's very different, like it is, I would say, in Chiang Mai, Thailand versus Bangkok, Thailand. Okay. So in the chat, everybody, either the city or the part of the country or the country that you're in, how big, how many lawyers would be considered to be a large law firm?
And if anyone is in the conference room right now and they're online, if you want to just ask people at your table or announce in the conference room, if someone could just ask people the same question and then you type it into the chat, then we can cover that as well.
I think it's more than 10 persons in the firm. Yeah.
Yes,
And
I also
remember to put the country or the city. Yeah.
Yeah, Prita, where are you from? I see more than 10, but where is that from? What city or country?
Chiang Mai, Thailand. Lana lawyer.
Okay, we're getting a lot of answers. Thank you. Okay, so if everyone's watching the chats, they're seeing that there's a very, very wide range of number of lawyers in large law firms that we're seeing. So I'm just kind of jotting these down. I may have a couple of you share. So I'm seeing things ranging from 10 lawyers as being a large law firm in the city of Chiang Mai in Thailand, or in some of the identification of some of the places in Laos, for example. 10 is a large law firm. I'm seeing some that have 100 or more as being a large law firm. Singapore has 50 plus as being a large law firm. India, I see so far, is probably one of the highest, although I'm going to challenge that in a minute, I think. But it says that a large law firm in the capital city of Mumbai would have around 500 lawyers. So I don't know. So someone from Laos that's on, could you maybe go unmute? How many lawyers actually are there in the entire country of Laos? Does anyone know?
Juspire Michelin, how many lawyers are there, licensed lawyers in Laos? About.
200.
Now that's
Above 200, but maybe 220.
Okay.
okay.
Anyone?
Juspire Michelin says 250. I think it's about 300 in Laos. Is that right? About 300 lawyers?
That,
300.
About 300.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
yeah.
that's what I had understood
Okay, about
from
300.
my
Yeah.
talking to people before. So there are law firms that people are identifying in the chat that are larger than the total number of licensed lawyers in Laos, which is interesting. Other countries obviously have much larger populations, but certainly interesting to point that out. So let's hear. I'd actually like to hear from who is it from India who responded? Meta Dio, could you just talk a little bit about what the different size, not just the large law firms, but what are sort of the different size law firms that you see in India?
Yeah. Hi. So I'm sorry, I think I didn't gauge the question correctly. What I meant was it could go up to 500 lawyers or more.
Okay.
There are obviously law firms which would have lesser number of attorneys, maybe even 100, which are old and considered large law firms. In terms of the range of services, most of the bigger law firms are full service law firms. So to say, they will have a corporate practice, an IP practice, a litigation practice. And we also do have a lot of boutique law firms who would specialize on one kind of service area, which could either be one of these practice areas.
Great, thank you. And Preeta, could you tell us just a little bit about law firms in Thailand? You said in Chiang Mai, more than 10 lawyers would be a large law firm. Do you know what the largest law firm in Thailand is? I'm just curious, or what a large law firm in Bangkok might be.
Yep. In Thailand, in the whole country, we have the lawyer around 65,000 in the whole Thailand. Mostly, I never see the big law firm like more than 100 lawyer in the firm. Mostly they do individuals lawyer, like a one person or two person to be the firm. And I believe more than 10 is a pretty big law firm in Thailand. Yep.
Great. Thank you. And let's just do one more. Irene from the Philippines. You said the large law firms here have about 150 lawyers and maybe 50 partners. So are there many law firms that are that size in the Philippines?
No, there are only a few that were they're actually established a few decades ago, and then they just grew over the years.
Okay.
I think they're about like 5 in the capital.
Well, great. So thank you all. So, when we talk about large law firms, it means something different to each of us. I can tell you in the United States, when I started practicing law 30 years ago this month, actually, a large law firm was maybe 100 to 200 people. Now in the United States, because many law firms have come together to form larger law firms, a large law firm, as someone pointed out in the chat, is could be 500 or more attorneys. My law firm, DLA Piper, has over 1,000 lawyers in the United States, and globally around the world, we have over 3,000 lawyers. So, law firm means something different to different people depending on where they're from. And it's not important when we're doing pro bono necessarily to say that one size firm is better than another in terms of providing pro bono work, as we all know and have learned from our personal experiences. Providing pro bono work is something personal, right, to the person, and something that they do individually, and that's the most important thing, not necessarily the firm that they work at. But as Bruce said in introducing this, there are some benefits to having large law firms involved in pro bono work, and in particular, again, using the words that Bruce had introduced, sort of the institutionalization of pro bono, across various programs and projects. So I will just speak from personal experience, and if others want to share as well, that would be great, and then we can move on to the rest of the session. To me, I'll talk about the benefits I have had, again, personally, from being at a large law firm. One is that there are, large law firms have a large number of lawyers. And what that means is there are a lot of people who, if the law firm, like my law firm, DLA Piper, if we have a pro bono culture, it means a lot of lawyers will be doing a lot of pro bono work. And one, in terms of resources, that means we can work on bigger projects or bigger trainings or work on, larger publications if we decide to work on something like that. And also many, and I know this is a theme that we've heard in some of the other programs, our law firm encourages people to do pro bono and to work on a certain number of hours every year. And when you think about that across many lawyers, that's a lot of pro bono work that gets done over the course of a year. So I'll just use as an example. If you have 1,000 lawyers in a law firm, okay, we talked about that, and each one did 50 hours of pro bono work. So that's a good amount of pro bono work, but it's a small amount of work compared to their total practice. That would be 50,000 hours of pro bono work that law firm would be able to contribute. And in my mind, that's sort of equivalent to having about 20 or 25 lawyers working full-time on pro bono work. So you really can leverage those numbers when you're at a large law firm. And the other thing is just resources. Larger law firms have research tools and the financial ability to support many projects. And we're going to talk about some of the projects that we've worked on in the next part of this session. So I'll just sort of stop at that. But we have a lot of access to project partners like Bruce and Wendy's organization and Babsicle and others that we can team with and work on projects year after year and continue to bring people in and work on things over the long term. So I'll stop there, and we can either, if anyone else wants to share on their experience, that would be great, or we can move on to the next part of the session.
And I think actually we pass that to Jonathan. I think Jonathan will ask some people to kind of share some examples. Jonathan and the Whiting case team, the whole Whiting case.
Great.
I keep saying Jonathan, but I don't mean just you. It's the quick. I mean all of you. But I think you have some questions and maybe you want to ask people to share. Is that right? Over to you guys.
Yeah,
guys, as a general gender term.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, look, I think so. What we're going to be talking about now altogether is the types of kind of collaboration that the large law firms, whether it's big law or the large kind of local firms or domestic firms, as we call them, can contribute to the pro bono effort. I think one point before we go into any more kind of detail is what I really want to emphasize is there is exactly what Andrew was saying. There is so much resources, drive, and enthusiasm in the big law firms to do pro bono. The real issue is it's hard. The real issue is it's hard to find pro bono matters. In particular, I would say in Southeast Asia, right? So, and I would say it's over up to everyone on the call. We're very happy to team up. I'm sure most big law firms are very happy to team up with smaller law firms on pro bono matters, or with NGOs. With obviously we have a partnership with Bruce and BAPSIA CLE for a number of years now. But I would say there is a lot of a lot of talent and opportunity out there. We know, and it's that kind of, I know there's the law societies have often kind of like clearinghouses, or there's not-for-profit clearinghouses, which is really helpful. But fundamentally, I think we can always do more, and everyone should be thinking about how can we kind of harness that, all that firepower that we have in the big law firms to help on the pro bono matters. So that really, I wanted to kind of just re-emphasize as I do, I think every year I mention that. One thing what we want to talk about now, I think, is how do we, what does it mean to collaborate between, on pro bono matters between, law firms, big law firms, I would say, and the likes. And so I think what we'd like to do is, same as what Andrew was proposing, is let's take a little bit of a 5 minutes to think about what have you seen in terms of, collaboration, right? I mean, we have obviously seen a number of we have a number of different programs. We obviously have the training program on gender-based violence and soon on children's rights that we are developing with BAPSI CLE and that we are rolling out in Laos and then in some other countries. We also have, generally speaking, there's also some global research projects that are really important. There's one ongoing at the moment, which is sponsored by Cornell University, which is about creating this, global database around all the case law in the different countries relating to women's rights or just generally LGBT rights, and whether it goes from, child marriage to inequality in succession rights to, employment rights, and to have this kind of this database. And so, we are kind of contributing to that. And then there's also, I would say, we have legal clinics, etc. So putting it back to everyone here, let's just take maybe 5 minutes and using the chat function to just tell us what we have seen, what you have seen basically in terms of like collaboration, and then we can maybe focus on a couple and hear from people more directly. So I think maybe we can just give it a start. Yeah, just put some.
Yeah. So everybody, and again, so, this morning when we talked about what is pro bono, what is it, why is it, who is it, we talked about that buffet. We talked about that buffet of amazing, delicious foods in so many different ways. And so what the Whiting Case team is asking you now to do is to think about pro bono that is done that involves collaborations between, in this case, let's say large law firms or such, and others that are types of pro bono. So why don't you take about a minute or so, think about it, and then Jonathan and Whiting Case team, do you want them to share it in the chat? How do you want or you want to put hands up, share it in the chat? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can maybe just use the chat just to a little bit, and then we can just have a conversation as well.
Great. Okay, so everybody take about a minute, think about at least maybe one example of let's say we'll start with a large law firm collaboration. I mean, Gabby gave an example earlier in the previous session. They were talking about the climate portal, climate justice portal. So that's an example. So don't use that one because I'm giving you that. It's something new. Okay. And let's put it into the chat. Okay, let's everybody put it in the chat. So take about a minute or 45 seconds and come up with at least one. Everybody, or most of you can hopefully come up with one. Remember, large law firm could be 10 lawyers if that's where you're from. I'm sure a lot of lawyers in my own law firm can think of an example of a lot of lawyers collaborating in partnership and doing pro bono work. Okay, so let's get that out there. Okay, and put it into the chat.
Okay, so I think we just want to just kick back in. So there's some interesting, there's a few interesting things here. So maybe Marion, can you tell us a little bit more about the UNHCR collaboration that you mentioned on the chat?
Yes, for sure. This is let me put my camera on, see if you can see me. Maybe that's not working. Okay. So nope. The collaboration with UNHCR involves assisting refugees in Hong Kong to obtain work visas. So this is a sort of, there isn't an official process, but UNHCR have helped lawyers to develop a process that works. And a lot of different law firms work on those, and the visas last 6 months and then they have to be applied for again. So a number of different law firms are doing that.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. And how do you go about, or how did you get that relationship, or how did you get that pro bono matter, basically, right? Like if the people hearing us here, they were like, oh, but how do I get to talk to the UN to put something like that together?
Well, if anyone is interested in that project, they're welcome to contact me and I can put you in touch. I wasn't involved in setting up the project. When we got involved, there were already other law firms involved in this project, and it was one of my colleagues in another firm that said, we're doing this, do you want to get involved? So it was simple as that. Okay,
so really word to mouth, I would say, talking to other lawyers and by that, the other kind of colleagues, and by that kind of like developing some existing mandates, right?
Exactly.
Excellent. Rob, do you want to talk to us a little bit about the different options that you're seeing from your perspective?
I'm sure. So just I think, can you hear me? Hopefully it's working. Good. Okay. Good. So yeah, I'm just making a quick point that, a lot of times folks may, if they're in solo practice or they're in small law firms, they may be thinking to themselves, well, gosh, maybe I'll just leave that pro bono work all to the big firms out there. But it is often the case that, there are situations where, the large law firm model might really help and be necessary and critical to a pro bono project. You just can't do it without it. Sometimes where it's resource intensive, or, in particular contexts where it just makes sense for a large law firm to go after it. Other times, you really have to have that solo practitioner, that small firm kind of environment. And it just depends. It just depends on the situation. I just want to make the point that, I think there's value across the spectrum, whether you're a large law firm, whether you're a small firm, NGO, whether you're an individual lawyer just trying to volunteer. There's just value in all the work that we can do.
Okay, thank you. Michael, you had your hand up. Oh, you're still on mute.
I hope.
Okay, maybe we'll come back to you, Michael, in a minute when you. So just going, I think there was another. If you just scroll up, there was, I think, yeah. Bruce, do you want to say quickly a few words about the health clinic that you're working with?
Actually, maybe I'll pass it. I can, but I don't know if Preeta, actually one of my law firm partners, is here. Preeta, you want to tell them just briefly about the work Lana Lawyers did with Chiva Health Center, and how we partner with them to do the legal awareness raising, the legal information that we did?
Yes, I can. We have a partner with the Shiva Healthcare. We try to set up invite the people, the expats people who living in Chiang Mai or in Thailand. We do both inside and by online, and we told them how the expats person who stay in Thailand, how they need to know about the law to living in Thailand. Example, living wills, or how to buy the land or condominiums, about something like the family law, if they're married with the Thai person, or if they want to divorce with the partner and living in Thailand.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, just real quick, and it's interesting because while the focus was on expats, in some ways, in some countries, people like expats, sometimes they don't know the law and they actually are marginalized. Even if they have money, they're marginalized because they think they know the law and they're actually don't, and they're really in danger. So it isn't only about having money or not having money that makes you marginalized. So that's something that we found. Yeah. So I just want to add that in. Jonathan, back to you and the team. And I think Michael has his hand.
Okay, yeah. Michael, can we pass over to you now?
Hopefully that's successful.
Excellent.
So I just wanted to make a couple of quick points about the program which DLA Piper runs with the University of the South Pacific. Aaron and I will say more of this on Sunday afternoon. But on the topic of collaboration, this was established quite a few years ago now with the universities of the South Pacific. 21 island nations of the South Pacific years ago didn't have their own uni, and they used the governments of Australia and New Zealand to set them up. Coming forward, though, we now teach a skills course in the context of pro bono and access to justice and rule of law. Collaboration is with the university, very important. It's in the context of their legal clinic work, but we add quite a heavy dose of skills training, which is very generally attractive to students at university who aren't getting much skills training otherwise in their courses. The other level of collaboration, which we shouldn't lose sight of, is the way that we can collaborate with what tend to be small law firms, but they're corporate law firms. And the most recent course we taught with the law faculty in Fiji, we had in-house lawyers from two of Australia's biggest financial institutions, Westpac Banking and Suncorp. And those two lawyers, and those two are clients of the firm, so it's good in that relationship sense. But equally, I've now read the feedback from those two lawyers who worked with us on that program, and they've just been blown away by this wonderful experience it's given them, being lawyers who would otherwise be largely doing nothing but sort of financial services type work within a corporate office. So there are various layers of collaboration and the opportunities are huge. And if I just sort of want to say to anyone in a big law firm, if you've got the ability to link in with the university in the context of a pro bono culture exercise, link it into some skills, particularly things like interviewing disadvantaged and disabled people, and bring in your major corporate clients as well through collaboration, it's a win-win-win in a very big way. And we've been doing this now, I suppose, for 6 or 7 years. Thanks for that. Sorry for the mess up to start with.
Thank you, Michael. I mean, I would echo that, and I think what Michael's point is really an important one. Is I would say is a collaboration with our clients as well, right? And I think that to bring our clients in a pro bono project is a very kind of special way to kind of increase the relationship. And I think that's something, so it may not be for every client, for sure, every person, but when you find the person who's really keen, and to Michael's point, if you kind of like a lawyer in a bank and actually you want to do something a little bit different, then, that ability to work with your law firm on pro bono matters is huge, right? So that's a really good point. So a few other points, maybe Philip, do you want to say a couple of, to say to the,
Yeah, sure. Just wanted to kind of touch on one particular aspect, and that links to what Jonathan was saying about clearing houses, right? So I think one particular example of a clearing house is the local law society. So in the Singapore context, the Law Society of Singapore, because they have the ability to assess what opportunities and what needs the society needs, and kind of do the kind of means testing to find out who exactly are deserving of kind of pro bono help that they need. And so we on the law firm side can provide the kind of firepower to help with all of these opportunities. And one such example of collaboration would obviously be legal clinics, which I think is something that is quite regularly rolled out in many jurisdictions. And many domestic law firms have been kind of working on that in the sense that there'll be legal clinics organized, say, once a week or once in 2 weeks in a certain location. The law firms would provide the manpower, sending down 3-4 lawyers at each particular time. And it's kind of on a walk-in basis where people come in with their questions. Before that, obviously, the Law Society will partner with the law firm to kind of set up this interview list, set up this list of interviewees and kind of the questions and problems that they have. And then you have like 3 or 4 hours each session to kind of go through different various people and kind of the problems they have. So this is a kind of example of a good way to collaborate. And we have actually just had a call with the Law Society of Singapore just a couple of weeks ago to explore not only these, but kind of other ways as well that both foreign and domestic law firms can help out in the Singapore legal scene.
So what we've done as well, which I think is worth mentioning, because it's a little bit different from the legal clinics, but we've developed a partnership with the Singapore prisons, where we go and provide training in terms of to help inmates who are coming at the end of their sentence, to help them, I would say, think about how are they going to be reintegrated in society. And so there's there's many different aspects where we can collaborate. So here was with the prison services, for example. Any other kind of questions or comments, or anything that anyone wants to share on what they've done, which in terms of collaboration, which would be kind of interesting for everyone to hear? Any hands going up?
Rob?
Sure. So let me just make a quick comment. So exactly what you just said a moment ago, Jonathan, and has been discussed today. The sort of collaboration that you're describing, I think, is a really powerful tool. Gosh, so I have a couple of hats. I'm participating in the conference as executive director of the Global Pro Bono Bar Association, but I also have a day job where I work in a large firm and I do pro bono coordination, in the Singapore office. And so what I've seen in some of the broader platform during my day job is some of the projects that have been done in the fight against modern slavery, where you're seeing, in particular jurisdictions, sometimes in Africa, sometimes in the Middle East, where there will be developments in collaboration between a particular NGO and local authorities, for training to fight modern slavery in some aspect or another. And so we're right now working, for example, in one project that is intended to fight online sexual exploitation of children, where we're bringing together both the NGO on the one hand and with the view that the NGO will be providing some capacity building for particular jurisdictions, along with folks that are coming from the private sector, clients or potential clients who are interested. And like you said, exactly like you said, folks who are in their day jobs, they're working in the Office of General Counsel in a particular, private sector industry, and they just remember that they have the opportunity as lawyers to get involved with pro bono, even though they may or may not have a pro bono project or program in their companies. So it gives them an opportunity to get involved in a project like that and to do that kind of training. I think it's a fantastic thing, because you not only have the clients coming together like you've mentioned here from a global law firm perspective, but you also have the opportunity to work with local counsel in each of those jurisdictions, because most of the time, I think it's fair to say that most of the time, some of the greatest need out there is in jurisdictions where you don't necessarily have large law firms having offices. Offices are often, if you look at the map, often you'll look at the large financial centers, London and Singapore and New York, and you can bet there will be lots of law firms there with lots of ability to do pro bono in areas in jurisdictions in which those lawyers are barred. It's easy, right? Because you'll have folks on the ground already. But in some of the places around the world where they could really use some help, capacity building or local engagement in one way or another, that platform, that large law firm platform, might allow you to work and bring together those clients along with local counsel and along with folks who really would love to get involved in pro bono inside the firm as well, just like you're describing, Jonathan, to do these kind of high impact projects and programs. That's the kind of what I was talking about before when I was saying, there are certain things that where the large law firm model really benefits. And of course, also, the context where it really takes local counsel to get involved as well. Thanks. Sorry to talk so much.
No, on the contrary, Rob. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Great. So Jonathan, in Whiting case, I'm actually going to now ask a couple of some questions of your Whiting case team. John, we'll start with you, Aaron, Andrew, and then Takeshi. And this gets, because when we talk about large law firms, you know, you're a part of the firm. You're a part of the firm. But we say large law firms could be 10 lawyers. It could be over 100. But we know that you have your own values and the firm has values, and you want to do pro bono and the way you do pro bono, and the firm does it the way they, you know, which is great. And you've chosen, each of you have chosen a justice hero. Each of you have chosen a justice hero. Now that's your justice hero. But what I would like to hear from you is, how does your justice hero in some way represent the value of the firm you work for in the way they do pro bono? So your personal justice hero, I'd like to hear from each of you who your justice hero is, and give an example of how that person and your firm's, that person in some way symbolizes the pro bono work that your large law firm does. Maybe we'll start with, let's start with Andrew. We'll start with Andrew. Who your justice hero is, and how does that justice hero symbolize some of the pro bono work that your firm does?
Sure. So my justice hero is Sapana Pradhan Mala, who currently is a Supreme Court judge in Nepal. Formerly, she's been part of Parliament. She was part of the Nepalese Constituent Assembly, and she's worked closely with the UN and the World Health Organization. And the reason I picked Sapana is she has done a tremendous amount of work over the years, whether as a lawyer, you know, as a politician, and now as a judge, to really advocate for the underserved and the unrepresented or the underrepresented. And in particular in Nepal, she's been instrumental in advancing women's rights and advancing, promoting women lawyers within the country. We do a lot of training in Nepal, DLA Piper does, with women lawyers. We have a program we do there every year, and those women get a lot of benefit from the groundwork that Sapana laid in Nepal. So for us, it's really about looking for and, you know, promoting people's rights and serving the underserved and the unrepresented. And she really symbolizes that and has been a great role model, not only in Nepal where she is locally, but really globally.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, Takeshi, your justice hero. I know you don't have your justice hero up, but I'm going to put it in the chat, and you're going to tell us who your justice hero is and how this justice hero symbolizes the pro bono work that your law firm does. And I'm putting it in the chat. It's Sadako Ogata, right?
Yes.
Okay, so who is that, and how, and maybe within 1 minute, who is it? Why is that justice hero, and how does that symbolize some of the pro bono work that your law firm does?
Yes. Ms. Sadako Ogata is Japanese woman, and she was the head of the UNHCR. And she focused on human security. And she usually said, you don't have time for philosophical discussions, but go to the field and do what you can do now. In our law firm, Nishimura and Asahi, our fundamental mission is to contribute to the realization of fair society based on the rule of law. Such missions and philosophy are, of course, important, but in order to realize justice, it is more important to take the first action. So I love Ms. Ogata's way of life and way of thinking.
Wonderful. And your firm does what it can do now, which is fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, Jonathan, over to you. I know you're in a room, so we don't actually have your Justice Hero, but
okay, no worries. We so I mean, I'm with my pro bono heroes, and you know, it's this is what I wanted. I wanted to kind of, I would say, talk about all the unsung heroes of big law who, you know, it's not unusual for us to, you know, spend, you know, weeks there where you work 80 to 100 hours, and then I still have associates who will still, after that week, will still spend, you know, 5-6 hours of the weekend to do pro bono. And, you know, you don't have to, right? Like this comes from them, right? And I think, you know, whether it's at White & Case or other big firms, I wanted to just, you know, just mention that, because I would say, you know, yes, you know, we work hard, and yes, the you know, the money is kind of good, but on the other hand, nobody has to spend those hours, you know, that time on the pro bono, and it's a true spirit, right? I would say that comes out of that. If we look at last year, arguably one of the busiest years that all the big law has ever had, we still, you know, and many other big law firms have managed that as well. But we managed to contribute 120,000 hours to pro bono globally, and you know, which is about $100 million of investment. And so, and all that is, you know, work done by Yash, Philip, Jinyu, and all the others, you know, over and above the very heavy weeks that they have. So I just wanted to just mention that for once.
So fantastic. So what you're saying is your Justice Heroes are your pro bono team, and the
That's
team
right.
is a symbolization of the White & Case, the reasons of how and why they do pro bono. Wonderful. And Aaron, over to you. You have one of my great Justice Heroes. You have Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You could tell us who she is for some people who may not know, and in 1 minute or less, explain how Ruth Bader, the infamous RGB, RBG symbolizes pro bono with DLA Piper.
Yeah, sure. So my Justice Hero is the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Ginsburg in the United States. I think her time as a lawyer was more inspiring to me than her time as a judge in my legal career. As you may know, that like Ms. Ginsburg worked in a few cases that fighting for gender equality, and she fights for not only men but also not only women but also for men as well. So gender-based violence issue is one of the issues that we cares about here in DLA Piper, and we treat it as a regional focus area in our pro bono practice. We try our best to represent as many victims of gender-based violence as possible. In Hong Kong, we have the Ring Lady Legal Clinic, which our lawyers will represent a victim of sexual harassment to seek remedies and justice. We also represent transgender people who experience discrimination during the process of receiving service to get a better and fairer treatment as well. So we really want to follow the footsteps of Ms. Ginsburg to build a fairer environment for everyone, especially in the country where our lawyers are based, and we have a lot of business connection with.
Wonderful, Aaron. And again, I think a hero for so many of us. So, and I'm going to stay with you now. So now we're going to shift slightly, and we want to hear a little bit about the collaborations that your firms do, an example that also helps to institutionalize pro bono. And Aaron, you just finished with you, so let's start with you now. Can you give us an example with DLA Piper?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, no problem. I know that I only have 7 minutes to talk about the great work that our DLA Piper team has been doing. I will try my very best. As Andrew mentioned, that we have 3,000 to 4,000 lawyers across the world. In the past few years, we provided around like $200,000 to various pro bono projects in different countries. And in terms of international institutionalizing access to justice, I think that we have like done a number of things to achieve that goal. For example, like we provide direct representation in some of the country. As I said, in Hong Kong, we have the legal clinic projects that help victims of sexual harassment. We also represent refugees in making their asylum claim in their host country. We also represent like eligible refugees to get permission to work. So these are the things that we are trying to do, is to make like legal services available to people who may not be able to afford legal services. And we are not only providing direct representation ourselves, we are also trying to create affordable law firm that can support those people who may not be eligible for pro bono service but cannot afford private legal service to have a solution. I will talk more about with Annette and Parthena tomorrow in the Asia Pro Bono Conference. We also work with NGO clients in strategic litigation case, hopefully that can bring changes to the legal system and bring changes to the law as well. So in Australia, we did a case for transgender women that the results of the cases, transgender married women can transgender married people can actually change the gender marking on their birth certificates since the case. As Andrew said, as Michael said earlier, we also cares about legal education and training future lawyers. We believe that lawyers need to be competent and also ethical in order to gain the respect of the people, so they can have trust to the system and willing to use law as a means to resolve their problem. So we have various courses to train law students in different countries, like in the Pacific Islands, in Indonesia and Myanmar. So hopefully we can do more in this field. And we also provide research support to NGO clients. NGO clients sometimes would like to propose like law reform and policy proposal, but they may not have the legal foundation to build their proposal. So the global network of DA Piper can help clients to bring a team of lawyers qualified in different jurisdictions and provide them with the understanding of the legal position of a particular issue. So when NGO clients go to prepare their law reform proposal or policy suggestion, they will know like what is happening in other countries and what is the best practice that other country has and propose it in their home jurisdiction. So we have been doing this a lot. Like last year during the COVID time, we worked with the Association of Prevention of Torture that did a research on prison early release scheme that helped to reduce the overcrowding issue in prisons in different countries in order to prevent the spread of COVID. We have included like suggestions in that report, so in case you guys are interested, feel free to look it up. Lastly, I think one of the benefits of DA Piper as a large organization is we also have an extensive network, both in the commercial sector and also with civil society. So in the coming year, what we're trying to do more is to bring the two together, working on more innovative projects. So hopefully the business sector can play a more significant role in promoting changes in the world. So I hope this is a quick summary of what we do here in DA Piper. Bruce, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm happy to answer it.
Oh my God, no, it's beautiful. It's when we talked about the buffet this morning. I mean, you have so many different foods on that buffet that you're involved in, and just such amazing examples. Thank you for that. So actually, Takeshi, let's now ask you and your law firm, because you say your firm, you just do it. Okay, so can you give us some examples of the way your law firm and you're just doing it? Okay, we absolutely want to hear about this.
Okay, I'd like to talk two examples. The first example is a collaboration in law firms in two jurisdictions. NGO in Japan was considering microfinance in Kenya, Africa. We support the NGO from Japanese law perspective, such as drafting agreements and advising on regulation in Japan. The NGO shall comply with Kenya law in providing microfinance in Kenya, but we cannot advise Kenya law. So we asked a law firm in Kenya to support this project pro bono. The Kenyan law firm kindly accepted our offer, so they advised pro bono basis. With the collaboration between the two law firms, the Japanese NGO successfully initiated microfinance. Because of globalization, I think there are more and more cases in which the laws of several countries are at issue. So I think it is becoming more important for lawyers in different jurisdictions to cooperate pro bono. The second example is a law firm network in Japan. In Japan, many young lawyers are interested in pro bono, but some of them do not know how to start pro bono or what kind of pro bono work they can do. In order to address such issues, a young associate in Linklaters launched Plaza. Plaza is a law firm network in Japan. More than 10 large law firms, including international law firms such as Linklaters, DLA Piper, Freshfields, Baker and McKenzie, and Japanese large law firms such as Nishimura and Asahi are members of Plaza. In Plaza, meetings are held regularly. At the meeting, we talk about, we share the information about what pro bono work they are engaged recently and what problems they are facing to promote pro bono work. I think generally large law firms have an interest in the systems and activities in other large law firms. So sharing information about what is going on at each law firm would be helpful in promoting pro bono activities at large law firms. Thank you.
Fantastic. And again, those are really practical on the ground, ways to do this and very diverse. Just really, really great examples. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to the White and Case team to give us some examples of your pro bono collaborations.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll also conscious of the time, so we'll keep it a little bit short. So over to you.
Yeah.
Start. Yeah.
So I think my colleague Jash will talk a bit more about how our firm has done collaborations on a more global scale. But I think locally in our Singapore office, we have been quite privileged to work with BAPSIL across the last few years, plus of various training series that we have. I mean, we recently concluded a business law and ethics training series with Laos local university students on what issues regarding business law and ethics and how it should match up to international human rights standards. And all this was done across since December 2021 to around May 2022. So it's been a long series and was quite a fruitful, well planned out series that we had. And in fact, we are also planning another training series regarding domestic violence against children and how local lawyers in Laos can deal with such issues. And we're planning to do that later this year with BAPSI team again.
Thank you. Over to you, Yash. Yeah. So Yash is also a member of our Diversity and Inclusion Committee, but is a very fervent supporter of pro bono, and that's why she's here with us.
So just more on a global level and what some of our offices in other countries have been doing. So I guess in the US, we partnered with the Know Your Rights campaign this year for their first in-person event since COVID. So we had a few people from the firm join in with this in-person camp with over 100 young individuals in the US. And it was basically educating them over their rights of free speech and due process in the US, and particularly when interacting with police at traffic stops and protests. So just, quite relevant for young people in the US. And so that was, it was quite a successful event, and that was good for us to partner there. And just in general, we do have programs over a few different jurisdictions assisting migrants and refugees in need. So we have representatives from the firm going on secondments in Greece and assisting migrants in various countries, Greece, Afghanistan. And that's just a few of the programs, but conscious of time, so won't keep going on that.
Thank you. Okay, back to you, Bruce.
Really great. Again, just another whole, and if you listen, all these different examples, all these different type of foods, and it's great to hear that, from these different firms, we're not necessarily repeating, but we're just adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And, we said earlier this morning, sometimes people say, I don't do pro bono because I don't know where and how. But these are just some amazing examples that further lead to the institutionalization. And with that, I'm going to come over to Andrew, who works with the same firm as Aaron, DLA Piper, but in many ways in a slightly different capacity and from a different take. Again, and I want Andrew to kind of share with us his experience with the firm.
Sure. So thank you. And Aaron did give some great examples of what DLA Piper's been doing and some of the things we've been working on. So I'll try to be brief as well. But the one thing I would like to kind of focus on a little bit here is the power of collaboration, because to me and to our firm, the idea of the programs we can work on really is about partnership, and many of whom are partners who are participating in this conference. So the first example is of a partnership we worked on is we put together a guide called Providing Legal Services Remotely. You can't see it because it's a weird background, but I will put it in the chat. Even before the pandemic, we were thinking about ways lawyers could be more efficient and be attractive and give more advice to the, again, the underserved and do pro bono work. But when the pandemic hit, we really realized that being able to provide services remotely was critical. And we worked with the Legal Empowerment Network, which is Manuel's outfit. He's here. You heard from him this morning in the session on what is pro bono, and Open Society Justice Initiative. And so that's an example of where we pull together different partners, and we came at it from different angles, but it really took the three of us collaborating to be able to put that together. Another example is we do training for women lawyers in Nepal every year. We've been doing a program for 7 or 8 years now. 5 years we've done it live. The last 2 years we've done it remotely, and we hope to be going back soon. But again, that wouldn't come about without local without people on the ground helping us and the people we work with. We've worked with the Nepal Bar Association and local lawyers there, Saroj and Rosni Gamiri, who are participating in this conference, are key to us coordinating that effort with women lawyers joining hands and UNDP and the Nepal Bar Association. So again, another example of something we wouldn't be able to do, DLA Piper, on our own. It's really being able to only be able to do this because of the power of the collaboration. And another one, and I'll be very brief on this because we're actually going to do a whole session on it tomorrow, is the work we do with mock trial training, which is actually mock pretrial hearing training. But we've over several years, we've worked on a packet, and we train students and practitioners in doing training for trial work. And that's been a collaboration that we've worked on with Babsicle and with White and Case and Simon Kenny, who's again here at the conference. Again, something where we really need to rely on each other to do this program, but when we all come together and do it, it becomes a huge success. Bruce?
Really wonderful. So again, and you know, thanks to all of you. And I want to say this, and it was briefly touched upon by Andrew. You know, this conference itself, from the beginning, has been supported and then continuously supported. And the representatives from these amazing firms have been really core supporters of this conference, and because they recognize the need for collaborations and bringing us all together. You know, we're so grateful because that collaboration has enabled us really to come together and not only have us come together, but bring others involved and in who often would not be able to, you know, do this as we continue to, you know, grow these seeds up and up. And I have to say, as you know, one of the founders of the conference, how, you know, really grateful I am, because it's not easy. It's not easy. And so I'm personally, professionally, really just grateful to all of you, and such. Rob, were you going to say something? You're waving.
No, yeah, I'd like to say something just briefly. Yeah. I know we're running short on time, but it occurred to me I should say this. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, when you hear some of the fantastic work that's ongoing at large law firms, it's easy to think, wow, look at that great work that's being done. Whereas I know, you know, from working with local counsel in a lot of jurisdictions, sometimes the questions that they're asking are things like, gosh, can we afford to have a pro bono program? Because it's different if you've already made an institutional commitment, you know, saying, well, we're going to meet this standard for our global firm, for example, in a year. It's different if you're, you know, reaching into your own pocket, at least it seems that way, and giving away hours that could have been billed instead. And so I just wanted to mention, just before we go, if it might be good to start a conversation about how large law firms can help small firms in the areas where they can't practice, you know, locally, to kind of realize the value that there is, both the inherent value that comes from just doing the work itself, and it's always there, and it's the reason we do this, but also to help them to convince their partners that this makes sense to do. One way potentially to do that might be to start lists of rosters of firms by jurisdiction that global firms work with, where they've had a good experience. You know, you did a pro bono project together, it worked well, they did great work, you know, along with a, you know, on the you know, local counsel side. And maybe when the time comes that one partner is reaching out to other partners within that global firm saying, gosh, does anyone have a contact over in jurisdiction X? Well, then maybe it might be worthwhile to, you know, kind of refer them to that small firm. That might be one way that we can help, you know, small firm discussions to kind of develop the value and realize the value of pro bono engagement with large firms and otherwise, you know, where they may not otherwise be able to see it so readily. Thanks.
Yeah, and Rob makes a really good point about how, you know, large and smaller firms or individual counsel really can and should be collaborating in so many ways, because they bring in their own sort of unique powers and abilities, and again, this is a positive relationship of them working together. So with that, everyone, I want to say thanks again to all the presenters. I'm going to say that this session is going to be done again as part of the Access to Justice Exchange, but actually with some different examples. Some of the same, similar, but also some different examples of large law firm collaborations. And that's going to be done this next week. So if you like this, I would strongly suggest you attend the one in the Access to Justice Exchange, because you're actually going to see some additional foods on that buffet that I think are also incredibly delicious. So with that, I want everybody, let's give a round of applause to all of our amazing presenters. Really great session. We're going to be on. So the next session starts at 3:30. That's another plenary session today. I strongly suggest that you attend. It's actually quite a high-level session. We're having ambassadors and other high-level persons in Lao that are involved in justice work here. presenting similarly on collective collaborations on the justice work that they and their countries and their institutions do, and examples of that in the country of Laos, but also the need for collaboration and why that's important related to achieving justice work. So we're going to have Germany on there. We're going to have Japan. We have the EU. We have UNDP. We have the USA. So really, it's going to be a great session, and I strongly urge all of you and others to attend. And with that, everybody, thumbs up. Are we good? Okay, great, strong. Okay. See you all. Hope to see you all and many others in about 30 minutes from now. Okay. Bye-bye.
Before we end the room, if you said the magic word.
Yeah, you got to get the magic code if you want the certificate. Here comes the magic word if you want your certificate. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. I don't know where it is. Where is it? It's coming. It's coming. I don't know. Where is it?
The anticipation is.
Can we say it? Put it in the chat?
We could make up one.
And we can say snuffleupagus. You know, one of my justice heroes. Community. All right. So the magic word for this session is community. Community. Beautiful community. So write down that magic word if you want that certificate. Okay. Magic word is community. Community. All right, everyone. Thank you all. Wonderful, inspiring, institutionalizing, growing those seeds. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye, everyone.